Most people think that being blind means that you can only see this, black. But maybe you already know that blindness is more nuanced than that. Actually, blindness is a spectrum. Hey, I am Minstein and I am a legally blind illustrator and writer. Today I want to show you a little bit more about my personal experiences with being blind and also how I am still able to draw. However, I am not going too deep into any scientific details. But if you are interested in that, I will link you some informative stuff down below. Plus, you can always leave your questions for me down in the comments. The most important thing I want to make clear with this video is that a majority of legally blind people still have remaining vision. Not being able to see anything is a common misconception about blindness, and I want you to help me get the information out there. Being blind or legally blind is different for everyone. Just don't assume you know what a person can and can't see if they tell you that they are blind. As simple as that. Okay, let's begin with 7 facts about me. Fact number 1. My eye condition is genetically caused and it's called Stargardt Disease. There are a lot of great videos about this online, so I won't explain all the details to you. But for a short example, I have made this little drawing a while ago. It is not completely accurate, but I hope it at least helps a little bit. So, I have no central vision. Everything is a little blurry and has low contrast. I have trouble differentiating between colors and similar values, and the most important thing, I always have something I call the flimmer. It's this noise in front of everything that is moving around and forms into blobs of different colors and shapes. It's actually a little bit trippy if I think about it now. I can even see the flimmer when my eyes are closed or when there's no light at all. And it's strongest in the center of my vision. So if I look directly at something, it basically disappears and only the flimmer is left. When I want to read a text or see details in a drawing or something, I need to hold it very close to my face, and it also has to be a very huge font. And it needs good contrast. Everything that's too small or too far away will be invisible or just a blur for me. A YouTuber who also has Stargardt disease has made a few quite informative videos about this. They are called The Blind Life. I will link you a video where they show examples of how they see and why. It's not exactly as I see, but similar enough to be a great example. Fact number 2. I was unexpectedly diagnosed visually impaired when I was about 16 years old. There were several years before that when my sight got worse, but nobody knew why. And I was even accused of lying about my eyesight. And number 3, I am the only one in my family with this diagnosis, and before I lost my vision, I didn't even know that visually impaired people exist at all. Fact number 4. I later got diagnosed legally blind when I was about 20 years old. My vision keeps decreasing slowly, but it's unlikely that I will ever go fully blind, which means no remaining sight whatsoever. Number 5. There is no cure, no glasses, no surgery, nothing that would help me see better, and I am okay with that. I prefer the social model of disability over the medical one. If you never heard of that, check the links I provided for you in the description. I think everyone should know about these models. Fact number 6. I sometimes feel out of place in social situations, and I often act like I can see, just so I don't have to explain myself to others and get unwanted attention. I am constantly working on being more confident with who I am, but let's just say it's annoyingly hard for me when it comes to my disability. I'm fine with it when I'm around people I trust, but when I'm out of my comfort zone, I always end up having overwhelming feelings of being a burden or being seen differently because I'm disabled. I really want to overcome this, so if you have any tips for me, let me know. And last but not least, fact number 7. To help me see, I use video magnifiers, my phone camera, screen magnifiers, and text-to-speech software. I'm going to show you some examples now. Screen magnifier. There are several different types of screen magnifiers with all sorts of different assets. Nowadays, most operating systems have basic screen magnifiers as well as screen readers by default. But there also is a variety of specialized ones that really try and fulfill all the needs a visually impaired or legally blind person can have. I use them to navigate through apps on my phone or on my PC. For example, when I first got my drawing app, I used the screen magnifier a lot to navigate through the menus. By now I can mostly remember where everything is and I don't need to actually see the menu anymore. It is a little bit like playing an instrument. Your hands know where to go, and you don't really have to think about it much once you've mastered it. Memorizing where things are is a huge necessity to be able to use any software or app or whatever, because most of them unfortunately don't have good accessibility options. Many screen magnifiers also have a screen reader. These basically read you everything that is visible on screen. The best screen magnifiers and screen readers are highly customizable and can be individualized to your needs. Another helpful device are video magnifiers. A video magnifier is very similar to a screen magnifier, but for haptic things. There are many different types of video magnifiers. The one I use looks like this. It's a big monitor attached to a construction with a camera installed. There is a platform that I can move around underneath, and I can put my sketchbook or whatever I want to see on there and move it so it's underneath the camera. Then I can zoom in and make everything really big so that I can see it on the monitor in front of me. I can also change the contrast and so much more. It was a little bit difficult to film myself while using it, so I hope you get the point. I use this thing for pretty much everything and it's probably my favorite device. I also have a smaller transportable video magnifier that I didn't bother to film because it basically does the same things. It takes some time to get used to drawing traditionally while watching at a screen and not at the pen directly, but everyone who uses a screenless tablet knows that it's possible to get used to it.
Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Screen, left, zoom out, overview, zoom out, minimum. Hello, I have a text-to-speech function too.
And yeah, this is the thing that makes drawing traditionally possible for me. And when I draw digitally, I just zoom in the app that I use, so it's pretty much the same. I think it's important that more people know about visual disabilities and disabilities in general to reduce assumptions like every blind person uses a white cane. I don't use a white cane. Or that being blind always means that you have no remaining vision. Of course, some blind people actually can't see anything, but others can, and in such unique ways that you might even learn a few things from them. Be open-minded and listen to others before you make any assumptions. Feel free to share your personal experiences with us if you like to. Believe me, I am very interested in what you have to say. I'm someone who sometimes needs to hear that I'm not the only one going through all these struggles. Oh, I could tell you so many annoying stories about what happened to me because of my blindness. But more importantly, I can tell you even more funny stories. Really. Being unable to see people in front of you can get you into some weird situations, I tell you. Let me know if you want me to share some of my socially awkward blind people stories with you. To round up this video, let's get to your questions. A while back I asked you to post your questions for this video on my social media and I'm going to try and answer them now. The first question is: do you perceive shapes and colors well, or do you use tools to pick colors and make shapes? Sorry if that's insensitive. No worries, it's not insensitive. I asked you to hit me with all of your questions and I'm glad that you did. I can see shapes very well as long as they are big enough. Colors are more difficult though. I can see colors, yes, but I have difficulties with them sometimes. I do, for example, need lots of light to be able to see them. Similar colors can look the same for me, like sometimes I don't know if something is blue or purple, yellow or green, and so on. For digital art, I often use the color picker to help me with that. Okay, let's move on to the second question. Since you have tools to draw on paper that can help you through the traditional draw, how can you replicate those tools on a drawing program where everything is on a display? I think I kind of already answered this question. I use screen magnifiers and I probably have the most unhealthy posture because I really need to have the screen close to my eyes so that I sometimes even touch it with my nose. The third question is: what's your tips for artists with the same blindness as you? Great question, I really love this one. So Stargardt disease is actually different for everyone I have talked to so far. I hope that I can come up with some helpful tips that apply to everyone. But most importantly, you can do this. It will be hard, it will be frustrating, but if you really want to do this, you can find ways to cope with your low vision. I promise. A tip would be to not feel bad for doing things differently. I know, watching all these tutorials of other artists, you feel like you need to be able to do what they do. But believe me, you don't. You can create great artwork even if you do everything your own way. Use other artists to inspire you, but don't compare yourself to them. Try to increase the contrast if you draw digitally, and take breaks. Your eyes need many breaks. Don't overwork them. You can always ask me for more specific tips, but I'm going to stop here because I could make a whole other video about this probably. Okay, let's move on to question number 4. I'm amazed at how you get the proportions right when you have to zoom in all the time to see properly. I'm invested in how you do that. I often have to look at my drawings from across the room. Interesting question again. There were a few people who asked me about the proportions and I really had to think on that question. So I do zoom out to see the full picture at once quite often. Even though I can't see the details quite right, I'm still able to see the overall shapes. Obviously, I have to use dark and bold lines to be able to see this zoomed out. If I would use thin lines, I wouldn't be able to do so. I also look at relations when it comes to proportions. I know that the elbow should line up with the bottom of the rib cage, and that's approximately where the navel is, for example. And yeah, I constantly check for these relations when drawing, and this is how I know that the proportions are right, I guess. I hope this makes sense. Question number 5. Also, I know it's exhausting to focus your eyes and stare at the screen for too long. How do you deal with it? Honestly, I don't know. I take breaks when I feel exhausted, but other than that, I'm pretty used to looking at screens almost 24/7 by now, and it's probably not healthy, but well, I'm used to it. And the last question: what are some of the biggest daily challenges you face? Let me think. I think the biggest challenge actually are social situations. If I enter a room full of people, for example, and I don't know who is in there and where to go, that's probably the most challenging situation for me. I don't use a cane or anything that marks me as blind. Even people who know about my blindness forget that I cannot see them from a distance. And I feel very helpless and lost when nobody comes and gets me, or when someone starts to talk to me without saying their name first. I wish I could just shout into the room something like, "Hey, I'm here, where's XYZ?" But unfortunately, I'm extremely uncomfortable with attention, and I start to sweat and shake or even cry when I'm in a situation like that. So yeah, that's very challenging. Also, asking for help in general. I was raised to do everything on my own, and that's still in my bones. I am trying to let go of feeling bad for accepting someone's help, but it's still challenging every single time. And there was a second part to the question: how can we make things more accessible for people who are blind? That's a really good question, and I've already mentioned it before. You might have already guessed that this would be a topic for another video on its own. But to make it simple, educate yourself, please. Look for educators of the blind community, read blogs, just use Google or Ecosia or whatever and type in your question. Honestly, I'm not an expert on accessibility myself, but there are many of them who provide you with free education online. But from my personal experience and what I need the most, don't make me feel like a burden. Asking for help takes a lot from me, and if you react annoyed or question my needs for help or anything, I will probably never ask you for help again. Of course, this is a completely personal issue of mine, but you asked and I want to be as honest as I can. Okay, I think this is it for now. I still feel like I could say so much more, but I need to figure out how to put all of this information into a video format first. I really hope this was at least a little bit informative and helpful for you, and I hope you got something out of it. As I already said, feel free to ask me additional questions or talk about your own experiences with disability in the comments. You can also contact me on my social media or write me a mail if you don't want to talk about this publicly. Just remember to be kind to yourself and others, and have a nice rest of the day or night, and goodbye.